Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining me in today's episode, today's video. Anyway, I'm going to explain the complex sentences. And as you most of you know that I'm preparing for my IELTS exam, and I created this playlist for you because I'm revise the whole English grammar, but when it comes to speaking, the grammar is different than the writing. So I created this for you guys because I know that I will struggle a lot to find anyone or any tutorial here in YouTube that help me to improve my speaking grammar, and all of the tutorial or the teacher we have here in on YouTube, they explain very well, very good actually, about grammar, but I can use it when I'm trying to speak. I feel like I'm grumbling from here and there, and I struggle. To be honest, I struggle a lot to structure well my sentence. So I decided to start this series with you because I know that there are lots of non-native speaking of English maybe struggle with the same, how to structure grammar when it comes to speaking. Okay, so today episode is going to be interesting for you, I hope that, or helpful. We all hope that. Anyway, I'm going, as you can see in my slide here, the complex sentences, grammatical range, and accuracy in IELTS speaking. Let's dive in. So basically, when we've talked about the simple on the compound sentences, and if you didn't see this episode, please click and see it because this is like part 2. I previously explained for you the compound sentence and the simple sentences and the difference between each sentence. Now I'm gonna move to the complex sentence. So please, if you don't understand, then back to the previous episode. So on the compound sentences, we're now ready to talk about the complex sentence. I hope so. So that's what in this section is about. Let's get started. So first of all, what is a complex sentence? What do you think the complex sentence? Basically, complex sentence is when we have a dependent clause plus an independent clause. Okay, as you can see here, I have dependent clause plus the independent clause, meaning complex sentence. So we will recall from the previous video that an independent clause is a complete idea. I already mentioned that before, that the independent clause meaning a sentence that already you understand the meaning. You don't need extra information. On the other hand, dependent clause is an incomplete idea. So when we have dependent clause, we need another clause, another sentence to complete the meaning, the whole meaning. And this is what we call complex sentence. Okay, no, I'm not calling that. No, the English language call it that, the complex sentence. So when we have dependent clause on an independent clause put together, and we call that a complex sentence. Now, what do we use to connect the two sentences together, the dependent clause and the independent clause to each other? We use what is called separating conjunctions. So we will talk about the separating conjunction very soon. But first, let's read this example I have for you. Okay. and to have an idea about the complex sentence. So let's take a look at some examples of complex sentence I have. So the first sentence here we have, whereas Britain invested over £1 million in books, France only invested 1,000, and Switzerland ranked the highest in 1999, although it was outranked by Britain the following. So as you can see here, it's a very complex sentence. And I want you to notice that France only invested 1,000. This is mean independent clause because the sentence stop here. But the first sentence, we need more idea about it. Britain invested over £1 million in books. But we have here this separating conjunction here, so it's incomplete idea, and it can't stand by itself. Okay, so this clause as its own sentence, it would still make sense, but it's complete idea. On the other hand, if we were to say whereas Britain invested, this whole sentence, as you can see here in my screen, it's incomplete idea because we are using the word whereas, and this word it's confused because it means that I am gonna add long sentence with long idea. So when we use this sentence, we have to compare it with something else. Therefore, we can't just stop at this comma here. No, we need to add this whole sentence in the blue color here. We have to add some extra information to complete the sentence. In this case, we need to a comparison. So let's look at these another examples. Here we have two different examples. By the way, I know that I read it both together, but this is different examples. So we have the next example here. Switzerland ranked the highest in 1999, although we have here separating conjunction. It was outranked by Britain the following. So as you can see, we have dependent clause. The first sentence is dependent clause, but we connected with dependent clause. So here in the blue color, we have independent clause. We have full sentence with full idea. But you will notice that the idea already completed, but if we were to stop here, the sentence, it will still make sense for you. On the other hand, the dependent clause is incomplete, this red color here. So that's why we add here in the middle, although meaning that it still need a lot of things, a lot of idea, and it can't stand alone. This sentence, it can't stand alone. And I want to mention something else for you guys. It doesn't matter if the dependent clause comes first or if the dependent clause comes first, comes second or whatever. The important thing here is that the separating conjunction has to be placed at the beginning of the dependent clause, which is here and here. This is so important to notice. We have here the separating conjunction, and we add it at the first of the independent clause, the whole sentence with dependent clause need more idea, need more things to understand it. This is the important part, and also we have it here, and we form it what are called complex sentence. Now let's take a look at some more examples and how we use separating conjunctions to form the complex sentence. So I'm going to move to my next slide here for you. I have here in this schedule all the separating conjunction that we use in the complex sentence. We have here although, despite, unless, before, unless, although. And I have more examples for you to notice when to use separating conjunction. And by the way, when we talk in English, I mention this because most of the time you are going to use complex sentence, because complex sentence show that you are in fluently, okay, that you are your English is perfect, to be honest, okay, because most of beginner level in English, they are not using complex sentence. So it's very important to know how to structure this sentence. Okay, it's very important to know that. So that's why revise this part for you guys, because for you to know that although you must, after although come the whole sentence, come dependent clause, meaning that this sentence need more idea. Okay, we are not using the separating conjunction with the dependent clause or in the middle. Sometimes it comes from first, the middle, and as you can see here, I have few examples amazing for you to just know that. Let's dive into our first example I have for you. Although this proposal has some drawback, its advantages for outweigh the disadvantages. So although this proposal has some drawback, this is mean like, so what? So I have to add more information, more content for you. So you notice that I add the comma here because this is important when it comes to the writing. Okay, we are not speaking in comma here, but in writing. Also, we have despite. The new regulation, many people still don't fully disclose their income to the government. Despite the new regulation, many people still don't fully disclose their income to the government. Let's move to our next example. Here we have walking is better than driving unless one is in hurry. Okay, so the last content I added here, the last idea I added here for you, I use before it unless, just to notice when we use the separating conjunction. It's important to consider one's financial situation before traveling abroad unless one is wealthy. So the first example, the first sentence we have, it's full sentence. And then we have before. Then before we need to add extra information, traveling abroad. We use before unless one in wealthy. I know this is sound complex for you, but you are gonna use it. I know that. Certainly these clouds happen, although the odds are remote. So certainly this could happen, although the odds are remote. So I hope that you really understand separating conjunction very well, because this is very important to know. And you can see here I mentioned the comma. You need to use it. Okay, so if the dependent clause comes before independent clause, place a comma at the end. This is gonna use it for the writing part. This means if I use a sentence but it's not complete in the meaning, I have to add comma to mention that I'm gonna add extra information here. Okay, as you can see, each dependent clause I have to add comma here. And if the separating conjunction is used to give extra information as a qualification or an afterthought, then you must use comma, as you can see in this example here. Okay, and this is the whole list for the separating conjunction, and I know that we use it a lot, by the way, because I noticed something when I try to use a separating conjunction while I speaking, because it's little bit connecting words. It's the same function, so you are gonna use it. For example, we use a lot if, as if, even if, only if. We know that as long as. Okay, so this is a big list for you, and I know that you might not be able to remember it or memorize it, but the only thing I need you to know that any words from this conjunction that you can see it's called conjunction, meaning connecting. Okay, this connecting between sentence. But don't forget, any of these words, when you use it to connect between other idea or other sentence, the sentence comes after any one of these: despite, expect, besides, while. It's dependent clause, mean that this idea of the sentence is not completed. That's why I use it, the separating conjunction. That's it. But you don't have to memorize all of that, because it comes with practice, by the way. Okay, so I hope you like it, and our next session is going to be about correlative conjunctions, and see you next time.